This video's purpose is to show how macros, also called hotkeys, can help a person work more efficiently. A macro is a thing where a person types a few keys and a bunch of text gets typed for them automatically. And now, for the next 2 minutes, whenever I speak, it will be to describe such examples that make typing SQL code faster. First, some Excel table is being copied and pasted from Google. Now a macro is being run to turn it into code that creates an SQL table. Next macro, copy and rename table. Next macro, change the values of one of the columns. Next macro, turn copied and pasted text into a table. Next macro, join two tables. Note, when a bunch of text appears or something unusual looking happens, that's a macro. Next macro, check for null values of all columns before and after writing a little code to remove the null values. This macro also runs the SQL command line thing in the background to get the names of the columns and row counts of the results. Next macro, check for duplicate rows. Note, this video is fast forwarding between macros, so that's why it looks fast. Next macro, count the rows before and after writing a little code to aggregate them, displaying the row count again. Next macro, show the before and after tables ordered by their columns. Next macro, pick a row from the results to turn into code. Next macro, search all columns of a given table for a string of text, displaying the row counts at the end of each line of code. Next macro, show unique combinations of column values. Next macro, join two given tables. Next macro, compare the counts in same rows of two given tables. Next macro, compare the unique column values of two given tables. Finally, show the unique column value combinations of two given tables. To recap, the preceding video's intention was to show how macros can help a person work more efficiently. Some Excel table was gotten from Google, then some macros run to turn it into an SQL table and play with it. A macro again is a thing where a person types a few keys to execute their macro, and a bunch of text gets typed for them automatically. Next part of the video, automation macro examples. In addition to automating keyboard and mouse input, macros, as will be shown in the remaining 2 minutes of the video, can also automate computer work, including transferring files and running programs and websites. This first macro example gathers all the Amazon product reviews for the products the user clicks on and puts them into Notepad. This makes researching and troubleshooting more efficient. Next macro example. This macro auto-generates HTML and CSS code, graphically displaying on the left the contents of the XML text files on the right, which by themselves are long and useless to look at. Next macro example. This macro automates downloading a video from YouTube, getting its audio, and then using an audio editing program to remove silence from the audio. So to describe what's happening more specifically, the user types few keys to execute their macro, and a sequence of automated things occurs. Buttons are clicked on, keystrokes sent, windows opened and closed, and programs run. Next macro example. This macro automates navigating through web pages until a form is reached, then it types in some text, which could be useful, for example, to more easily ask a dozen competing sellers about their item. For example, compatibility, details, price, etc., to determine which seller to buy from. Next macro example. This macro gets the product reviews from the current Walmart.com page and puts them in Notepad, which could again be useful for researching some household product. Next macro example. This macro gets Google Map directions for whatever address the user highlights, which could save a few seconds each time if a person's doing some web browsing where they're looking up addresses often. These next two macro examples save time when running a lengthy sequence of things to update and test changes to code. The first takes the code from a Windows text editor and transfers it to a program called SSH to update the code of a website. Then it runs the website. The second automates transferring files between Windows and a Linux virtual machine, running a video editing program, running Linux command line commands, auto-generating C code, and getting pixel colors of every frame of a video. In summary, this video has shown how macros can help a person work more efficiently, automating almost anything: keyboard and mouse input, transferring files, running programs and websites. The macros were written in open source programming language AutoHotkey. Thanks for watching.